Hey, thanks so much for joining me. This is Leah Bales with part 3 of Create Sanctuary in the Midst of Chaos. The one thing about chaos, whether it's little personal chaos or big worldwide chaos, as we are kind of having right now, very uncertain times that affect almost all of us on the planet. One thing about chaotic times is there amazing opportunities for growing. And I don't say that in a callous way. If you've got really tough times going on, I just send my heart out to you. And within this chaos of the pandemic right now, there is the opportunity to grow and change for many of us who are dealing with it. And I know I've really found that myself. In fact, as I started doing this series a week ago, I had an idea of where I was going to go with it, what I was going to do each day, and not really planned out, but it was evolving, and I thought I knew what I was going to do. And my week took unexpected turns. My mom was in the hospital. I got really sick, and it wasn't coronavirus. I was just deeply, deeply exhausted, and I could barely move. And what I remembered in that was that in these times when we've got so much going, each of us have so many individual feelings and emotions we need to process. And we're also dealing with the emotions of all the people around us and of the world. And that can sound kind of overwhelming, really. And yet we can work with that. Those of us who are sensitive, and I think everyone's sensitive, some of us maybe tune into it more than others, some of us define ourselves by being sensitive. I think all of us are affected by the emotions, by the states of being of the people around us, and even by the larger world. And so it's important to be able to remember how we can find sanctuary in that. And it's not sanctuary that blocks it all out. You know, we used to be taught, I remember years ago in energy training, people were often taught, create a shield and just don't let the negative in. And I never felt like that worked very well. And I was really happy many, many years ago to work with a healer who said his way, and it has become much more my way, rather than block out what's around us, is to fortify and strengthen our own essential energy, to come into the sanctuary of who we really are, and to let that light and that love and that luminosity and the beauty of our true nature amplify and grow and shine into the world. And when we do that, even a little bit, when we just begin practicing with that, playing with that, we can allow the feelings, the energy to come in without it getting stuck. And so that is the practice for myself in my life and with my clients and students. We really work on connecting, we play with, connecting inside with the essence of who we are. Who are we really? The joy, the light, the beauty, the love, and letting that expand and grow. And then effortlessly that shines into the world, and we can be a beacon of light. We can be love in the world. We can be of our best service, and even if there's a lot going on around us. And in times like this, when it's so much more intense, the news, what we're reading, what we're hearing, and just even what we're feeling around us, it's really important to have sanctuary, a way to come into that deep part of ourselves. It's also really important to be able to deal with all the feelings we have. Even though, yes, your essence is light and love and joy, you're going to have feelings of gloom and sadness and fear, and those aren't to be rejected, but to be dealt with very, very kindly. And so being able to feel all the feelings that you have without rejecting them, but also without letting them carry you away, without them becoming thoughts that become like a really negative freight train running down the hillside. You want to be able to feel the feeling as a feeling with kindness, with a deep, deep, deep kindness, a kindness that's even bigger than you. I love to myself and with my students and clients help us tap into the great heart, that bigger kindness that we can always tap into. Some of you may have a faith path or a tradition that you connect to that great love and that great heart and that deep, deep kindness. That's wonderful. It's available to all of us. And so today I was thinking I was going to talk to you about one thing, and it just didn't quite feel right. And what kept coming up for me this afternoon was to talk about or to offer to you a poem that I wrote a little over a year ago. And it's called In the Temple of Her Kindness. It's a poem, it's an invocation to that deep, deep kindness. Now, who am I talking about when I say the temple of her kindness? Feel free to let that be whomever you would like. Maybe it's your guardian angel. Maybe it's the great heart of love of the world. Maybe it's Mother Mary. Maybe it's Tara, the goddess of compassion. Maybe it's an aspect of the feminine aspect of the divine. Notice for yourself, maybe it's your deep inner good mother. Notice an aspect of yourself or in the universe, in the world, that you can tap into with this and relate to it. So I'm just going to read this. It's not one I know by heart. And boy, this is, I'm learning so much about technology as I try new things. I realize I've never actually read a document as I was on a call, but so here we go. Let yourself just get grounded. Let yourself feel it. And as I read this, notice any emotions, any thoughts that come up, and allow them to dissolve into that great temple of kindness. It's called In the Temple of Her Kindness. In the temple of her kindness, my sisters and my brothers and I transform. When I wake suddenly from deep sleep, gasping at the arrows piercing my heart, quivers full of, how could you? Why didn't you? When will you? Why haven't you? She is near. When the inner bleeding spreads inferno-like, she is near. Even in the dark dungeon of my underbelly, entertaining the most hidden terrors and despairs, her faint fragrance reminds me, I am not alone. She is near. She calls me to remember we need never be alone. She is near. She invites even my dungeon creatures, slick with shame and prickly with expectations, to open the door to let her in. Unafraid of the wreckage of failure and the stench of blame, she arrives. She who is the saint licking wounds of lepers, the monkey adopting an abandoned puppy, the rescue hound digging furiously through rubble, she who dances madly through hottest flames and serenely rides the tsunami's crest. She walks in, bringing peace beyond understanding, illumination from ashes, and the balm of mercy, deep, deep mercy upon us all. Never afraid of our doubt and our despair, she says, yes, dear ones, yes, you are so courageous. This turning towards your darkness with a full heart is a holy battle. These dreadful looking creatures are your worthy adversaries. You are here on this human journey not to stay within comfortable confines, but to allow yourself again and again to crack open to your earthly existence to make room for your true radiance. This then, this here, this now becomes the temple of her kindness. Here we learn that pain rises not to destroy, not to torment, not to hurt us, but to liberate us. Allow the pain, she reminds. Allow it to rise like a wave, to rise and rise. Stay patient and brave as it rises still more, rising until finally, in its time and not yours, it crests and breaks and completes itself. finally at ease because all the pain ever wanted, and yet for years was denied, all it ever wanted was simply to be fully heard and seen and felt. Your pain comes to heal you, never to harm you. Dear ones, she reminds us, lay down the dull and jagged sword of judgment that has hacked away and dismembered so many within and around you, and choose instead the clean, sharp, shining sword of discernment. Hers is a passionate, relentless kindness, not for the faint of heart, but for those of us who long to align with the great heart. Here in the temple of her kindness, it is safe to feel the fullness of your grief, your fury, your disappointment, your revulsion, your fear, your shame, and your confusion. Here, you can finally drop away the shackles of being good and begin to grow into so much more. Here, we break the spell of forgetfulness as we awaken again and again, ever and ever more fully. Here, decades, a lifetime, centuries of patterns, imprints, conditioning may perhaps dissolve in minutes. Take refuge here in the temple of her kindness. Refuge from the noise and bitterness and relentless conflict, not to hide away, not to pretend all is fine, not to be numbed into silence. Take refuge here to gather courage. Find your voice, reclaim your power, return to your senses so that you can bear witness to the glories and the horrors of our world, so that you can discover the action that is yours in these divinely challenging times, and so that you can claim the boldness to step forward, becoming yourself an ambassador of the temple of her kindness. Thank you so much.